There is one word that NASCAR drivers almost never say out loud. Fixing. As in race fixing. As in the accusation that a result was manipulated. And on Sunday at Sonoma, Carson Hocevar said it himself, about himself, in a post-race interview. He admitted that he was genuinely afraid people would accuse him of fixing a race. Let that sink in for a second. Not a fan on social media throwing out a wild conspiracy. Not a rival driver taking a shot. The driver himself, openly worried that his own actions on track could be read as match fixing. Here's what happened. Hocevar made contact with Denny Hamlin during a restart, sending him spinning, and Hamlin just so happened to be locked in a head-to-head tournament matchup against Ty Dillon, a driver Hocevar had spent the entire week publicly praising. So when Hamlin spun out and Dillon suddenly had a real shot at knocking him out of the bracket, the optics were undeniably awkward. Hocevar saw it immediately, and his own explanation of what went through his head afterward is honestly one of the most candid, self-aware moments you'll hear from a driver all year. Today we're breaking down exactly what happened, what Hocevar actually said, the twist in how this all played out, and why the bigger picture is actually wilder than the spin itself. Stay with me. Welcome back to Freedom Line News, the channel where we don't just chase the drama, we break down what really happened. If you're new, hit subscribe. This community is growing every week. Let's get into it. To understand why this moment carried so much weight, you need the full context. NASCAR's in-season challenge is a bracket-style tournament running alongside the points season, and in the very first round, Denny Hamlin, the number 2 overall seed, was matched up against Ty Dillon. This was actually the second year in a row these two faced off in round 1, and last year, Dillon pulled off the surprise and eliminated Hamlin entirely. So heading into Sonoma, there was already a storyline. Could lightning strike twice? And here's the detail that made everything more complicated. In the days leading up to the race, Carson Hocevar had been publicly singing Ty Dillon's praises, talking him up, predicting good things for him. So when, on lap 64, during a restart, Hocevar made contact with Hamlin and sent him spinning around, with cars streaming past him, the timing landed in the worst possible way. Hamlin was running inside the top 10 before the spin. After it, he dropped all the way back, his championship hopes and his tournament life suddenly in serious jeopardy against the very driver Hocevar had been championing all week. So Hocevar gets out of the car after the race, and instead of dodging the obvious connection, he addressed it head-on in his own words. He said he wasn't even seeing that he was hitting Denny. He was trying to avoid knocking his own front end off as Hamlin was already spinning in front of him. And then he said the line that's been shared across every NASCAR outlet since. He said he was happy to hear that he wasn't the difference maker in Ty beating Denny, because he thinks he would have been looked at for sports fixing, probably because of the way he'd been singing Ty's praises all week. He finished it off with a genuine apology, said he wasn't trying to spin them. That is a remarkably honest thing for an athlete to say publicly. Most competitors in that situation would either dodge the question entirely or give a flat "it's just racing" non-answer. Hocevar instead walked straight into the uncomfortable implication and named it himself. He recognized that his own public support for Dillon, combined with his car physically taking out Dillon's opponent, created a perception problem, and he addressed it before anyone else even had to ask. But here's the part almost nobody covering this story is including, and it changes the picture significantly. Hocevar wasn't simply an aggressor who decided to make a move. By his own account, he was getting squeezed from behind in the exact same moment. He said he was watching his mirror the whole time, saw cars lining up behind him, and told himself if he didn't get his car straightened out, he was probably going to get spun himself. Then he said he got hit and was, in his words, full rock to the right. So the contact with Hamlin wasn't a clean, deliberate move. It was Hocevar reacting to being hit from behind on a chaotic restart. And that reaction is what carried him into Hamlin. This wasn't a calculated strike against Dillon's opponent. It was restart chaos, with Hocevar caught in the middle of it, trying to save his own race. And here's the twist that makes this whole story even better. Despite the spin, despite dropping out of the top 10, Hamlin still beat Ty Dillon and advanced in the tournament. But it wasn't because he recovered some heroic pace. It was because Dillon's own car developed a power steering issue in the closing laps, and Hamlin simply drove past him with 11 laps to go. Dillon himself said it afterward. He had a good car, was running 10th at one point, looked like he genuinely had Hamlin's number, but the power steering problem at Sonoma's demanding road course made it impossible to stay competitive late. So if you zoom out, the actual deciding factor in Hamlin surviving round 1 wasn't Hocevar's contact at all. It was a mechanical failure on Dillon's own machine. Hocevar's spin damaged Hamlin's race and his championship day, dropping him to a 26th place finish after running top 5 pace. But it didn't end up being the difference in the tournament matchup. The thing Hocevar was afraid would make him look like a fixer turned out to not even be the deciding factor in the result he was worried about. And here's where it gets genuinely significant for the championship. Despite the spin, despite the damaged splitter that Hamlin said cost him all his front downforce for the rest of the race, despite finishing 26th, Hamlin still walked away from Sonoma with the points lead. Tyler Reddick suffered his own disaster, a power steering failure that dropped him to dead last, 36th. So Hamlin's bad day was simply less bad than Reddick's terrible one, and the standings flipped. Hamlin now leads the championship by a single point, having climbed back from a massive deficit over the last 6 races, including a 3-race winning streak. Hamlin's own comment afterward was simple. It's frustrating for sure. Reddick, for his part, kept perspective, saying it can be won or lost on any given race, and that there's still a lot of racing left with 8 regular season events remaining. So now I want to hear from you. Do you think Hocevar's honesty about fearing the sports-fixing perception was refreshing? Or do you think it's a sign the optics were genuinely bad, regardless of intent? And does it change anything for you knowing it was actually Dillon's power steering failure, not the spin recovery, that let Hamlin advance? Drop it in the comments, hit like and subscribe to Freedom Line News, where we cover every NASCAR story with the detail it actually deserves. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one.